Today's tale revolves around a pampered kid from a wealthy family who unexpectedly falls for his own stepsister. They engage in secretive antics away from their family's watchful eyes, which we'll dive into in this story. At the start, we meet a girl named Noah, who's moving in with her mom at her mom's boyfriend, William's fancy place. Noah's parents are divorced, and her mom is about to marry this rich guy, but Noah isn't thrilled about it. She doesn't want to be the daughter of a wealthy father. Her mom, Rafaela, tries to explain that they shouldn't keep struggling alone to improve their lives. She encourages Noah to embrace this new chapter, reminding her that at just 17, she'll make plenty of new friends after leaving her boyfriend Dan behind. When they arrive, William greets them warmly, but Noah isn't exactly friendly towards him. Her mom then takes her on a tour of the stunning house, but Noah struggles to accept this new lifestyle. Eventually, her mom shows her a beautifully decorated room that William set up just for her, filled with her favorite things and colors. Noah starts to warm up to the room. Her mom also mentions Nick, William's son and Noah's soon-to-be stepbrother. Later, while Noah is on the balcony, she spots a boy behind some trees but can't see him clearly. Just then, her best friend calls, and while she's chatting, she heads to the kitchen. Suddenly, she gets startled by Nick, causing her phone to drop. As she bends down to pick it up, Nick's dog appears, scaring her even more. In a panic, she hides behind Nick and grabs a pen, threatening him that if he doesn't quiet the dog, she'll use it on him. Noah gets a warning from Nick not to mess with him, or his dog will go after her. Just then, their parents show up, and Noah comments on how nice it is. But she really liked Nick's dog more. After that, she heads to her room and notices her best friend's daughter is still on the line, eavesdropping. The girl asks how Noah's stepbrother is doing, mentioning that her mom said he's really sweet. Noah replies that she's noticed him too. Later, everyone is getting ready to go out for dinner, and Noah shows up in a stunning dress, receiving compliments before they head out. On the way, she starts missing her boyfriend, and while she's lost in thought, Nick zooms past her in his car. Once they arrive at the restaurant, dinner starts, and Noah takes jabs at Nick during the meal, but he brushes it off. Afterward, he tells their parents he has something important to do and needs to leave. But before he goes, he tells Noah to wait for him. He teases her about where she thinks she can run off to. Nick's dad then asks him to drop Noah off and reminds him to drive safely. But as they drive, Nick speeds up and they start bickering in the car. When Noah makes a comment about Nick's mom, he loses it, stops the car, and kicks her out on the side of the road. Eventually, Noah hails a ride from a guy named Mario, who's heading to a party at a villa. They chat, and she finds out Mario is friends with Nick, who's also going to the same party. Excited, Noah asks him to take her along. Once they arrive, she spots Nick getting kissed by different girls and thinks it's time for her dad to step up his game. He showed up claiming it was all for work. But then she storms over and punches him, furious about how he left her stranded on a lonely road just to have a good time. She rants about how anything could have happened to her and calls him out for being Mr. Perfect in his dad's eyes. What would they think if they knew about his wild side? Nick, feeling threatened, warns her to keep quiet and stay out of it. Noah then questions why he was flirting with other girls, and Nick shrugs it off, saying they just gravitate towards him. He leans in closer, but she shoves him away. He quickly returns to his fun, and then a girl approaches Noah, introducing herself as Nick's childhood friend. They hit it off, while Nick is seen in the background, playfully kissing another girl. A guy named Rini also gets in on the action, kissing a girl in his own way. Then a gangster chats with Noah and offers her a drink. After a sip, she starts feeling weird, and Nick rushes over to shove the guy away. But Noah teases Nick and accepts another drink from Ronnie. Just as she's about to drink it, Nick spills it, warning her that those guys might have drugged it. Soon, Noah starts feeling woozy, and Nick decides to take her home. In the car, she gets a bit flirty and starts saying silly things about him, even though he tells her to hush. They finally make it home, and Nick carries her to his room, tucking her into sleep. Nick starts having some cheeky thoughts, but he manages to keep it together. After passing out from drinking, Noah dreams of being a kid again, with her mom waking her up and hiding her away from her abusive dad. Fast forward to the morning, and Nick is having breakfast when Noah approaches him asking about last night. Nick playfully hints that a lot went down, which makes Noah a bit upset. She decides to head to the beach to unwind and runs into Jana. After a while, Nick shows up with his friends to go surfing. While he's changing, Noah can't help but sneak a peek. And some naughty thoughts cross her mind too. She soon learns that Nick is off to a race later that night. Later at the race, Nick is surrounded by his friends and a crowd, gearing up to compete against Ronnie's crew. The race kicks off, and it's an epic showdown, with Nick coming out on top as usual. Everyone celebrates his victory. But then, Noah gets a text that sends her into a rage. Her boyfriend Dan is caught kissing her friend. In a fit of anger, she decides to mess with Dan by taking a picture with a guy from the party while kissing him. Nick sees this, chases the guy off, and grabs Noah's phone. He quickly figures out what's going on, and Noah admits she just wanted the photo to tease her boyfriend. Nick finally gets a chance to get close to her, and he asks, "If I kiss you and snap a photo, will you head home?" Noah agrees, so Nick leans in and gives her a memorable kiss. After that, Noah takes the picture, and Nick helps her into the car, saying he'll have a friend drop her off. He then dashes off to flirt with another girl, while Noah, sitting in the car, decides to call her boyfriend. To tease him, she sends him the photo and then hops into the driver's seat, starting the car just like that. Suddenly, Ronnie pulls up in a car and tells Noah that Nick is about to race her, but she should take the car and join in. Noah confidently replies that she can race too, and just like that, the race kicks off between her and Ronnie. Meanwhile, Nick returns to find Noah in the middle of the race, and he's not too happy about it. In the end, Noah wins and everyone cheers, but Ronnie, who lost, is furious. He confronts Nick, claiming that sending a girl to race was against the rules, and now Nick owes him money and his car. Noah jumps in to defend herself, but when Nick tries to pull Ronnie away, Ronnie hurls insults at Noah. That pushes Nick over the edge, and a fight breaks out between the two groups. Noah, feeling scared, sits down while Nick's friend helps her into Nick's car. A little later, Nick joins her. He shows up, and then they quickly take off from there. Fast forward 4 days to a morning scene where Noah is still asleep. His mom comes in to wake him up, letting him know that his dad, William, has thrown a success party. She mentions that she has a sister to take care of and that Nick has been MIA for 4 days, but she believes he'll show up for the party. Meanwhile, we see Nick, who also has a younger sister and whose dad was previously married. Nick's parents are divorced, but he's visiting his little sister Maggie, who is battling cancer. He spends a lot of time with her, chatting and keeping her company. Later, Noah and her parents return home after the party, but Nick didn't make it. Noah finds herself alone at home watching TV when Nick finally arrives and sits beside her. They start talking, and things heat up as they share a kiss. Nick suddenly pulls back, saying it's wrong. Just then, Noah's mom walks in and tells Nick he should talk to his dad about missing the party, so he heads out. The next day, while Noah is washing her car, she notices Nick watching her. To tease him, she splashes water on herself, making him laugh. But then, Noah's mom brings her boyfriend Dan over, and ever since Noah saw those kissing photos, she's been upset with him and isn't very friendly. When Dan tries to kiss her, she turns away and Noah's mom takes him home. Meanwhile, Nick is enjoying a swim in the pool. Noah decides to join him to chat, but Nick playfully pulls her into the water too. A relationship was slowly blossoming between the two, and every time they got close, they found it hard to keep their cool. They would sneak off to a corner of the bridge to kiss, while someone watched them from a distance, surprised to see Noah. However, Nick's friends interrupted the moment with some excuse. Just then, Noah's mom called Nick, and he had to leave. Dan approached Noah, asking if he was the same guy from the photo, but Noah didn't respond. Later, Nick ran into Ronnie, who started making snide remarks about Noah again. This made Nick furious, and the scene shifted to him at home, sporting some bruises from a fight with Ronnie. Standing by the pool, he noticed Noah sleeping outside and saw a mark on her stomach. He instinctively tried to cover her up, but she woke up and punched him hard enough to make his nose bleed. After realizing what happened, Noah apologized, explaining she thought Dan was bothering her, which is why she left so quickly. They began to grow closer again, but Dan showed up and Noah asked him not to tell anyone and to leave the next day. The next morning, Noah's mom handed him a letter from Dan saying he had gone back. Later, Noah and Nick went to a fight club with their friends, where Nick was set to fight. While chatting, they ended up kissing again, and it was becoming increasingly hard for them to resist each other, taking steps closer, as if they were both ready to dive in. He had fallen into addiction, but then two of his friends showed up in another car and spotted Nick and Noah. Nick's friend started explaining that Noah is actually his stepsister, and he shouldn't be doing this. After that, everyone headed into the club, and it was Nick's turn to throw down. But Noah stepped in to stop him because she's not a fan of fighting. Nick wasn't having it, though, and went ahead to brawl. He started to gain the upper hand, but then Noah came out to see what was happening. And at the same time, one of Nick's friends followed her out. While they were chatting, he leaned in and kissed Noah. Nick ended up winning the fight and got paid for it, but when he came out, he was furious and confronted his friend, pushing him away. He warned Noah to keep everyone at a distance from him in the future, but she snapped back, upset about the fight, and told him that there was nothing between them anymore, so he shouldn't talk to her again. They both went silent for days, keeping their distance, but missing each other a lot. Then one day, Nick's dad dropped a bombshell. Noah's dad, Jonas, had just been released from prison. He used to abuse Noah and her mom, Rafaela, leaving marks on Noah's body from the beatings. Nick was shocked, thinking Jonas was dead, but his dad explained that he had been locked up for years because of Noah's testimony. Just 2 weeks ago, he got out, and now he could pose a threat to Noah and her mom. Nick's dad urged him to keep a close eye on Noah, especially since she was at a party and drinking heavily. Nick is on a mission to find Noah, reaching out to everyone he knows. Meanwhile, at the club, one of Nick's friends jokingly locks Noah in a cupboard, which freaks her out because it reminds her of her dad locking her away when she was little. Just then, Nick shows up, rescues her from the cupboard, and takes her home. Shaken by the whole ordeal, Noah asks Nick to stay with her. It's tough for him, but he reluctantly agrees to spend the night in her room. The next morning, as Nick is about to head back to his place, his dad walks in and sees them together, which sends a chill down both their spines. Nick's dad was actually there to tell him about his sister's illness and her hospital stay, but seeing the two of them together makes him furious, and he storms out. Later, Nick takes Noah to visit his sister Maggie, and they chat for a bit. On the way back, Nick reassures Noah that they'll be home soon, but then he pulls the car over. Tension fills the air since they just had a close call with his dad. Noah worries that her relationship with Nick is doomed now, saying it might be their last night together. In response, Nick kisses her, and they both let go of their fears for a moment. They head to the beach, where they share a beautiful night together, growing even closer until morning. Nick suggests they run away, but Noah can't bring herself to do it, saying her mom finally has a good life and she doesn't want to hurt her. As they start heading home, Nick stops at a shop to grab something. But while he's inside, Ronnie shows up, knocks Noah out, and kidnaps her. Nick steps out of the shop and immediately notices that Noah is missing from the car. Panic sets in as he realizes Noah might be in serious trouble. He rushes to tell his parents, and they decide to involve the police. When the cops review the CCTV footage, Nick spots Noah's kidnapper. It's Ronnie, who had seen Noah being taken by his own dad, Jonas. Soon after, Jonas contacts Noah's mom, demanding RS1 lock and cash for Noah's release, setting a deadline of 10 o'clock. Nick's dad tells him to meet at a specific location to hand over the money, and they agree to the ransom. Noah's mom, along with William, takes the cash and heads to the spot Jonas mentioned, waiting anxiously. The police are there too, undercover, but Jonas has already set up surveillance. A hidden camera records their conversation. Meanwhile, Nick is in a car with a female officer who asks him if he really lost a race to Ronnie. He insists he didn't lose, she cheated. And he's still fuming about the insurance on his car. That sparks a memory about a tracker being attached to the car, prompting the police to quickly locate Noah. When Jonas realizes he's been tracked, he warns Noah that they're on to him. He grabs Noah and they take off running. Nick notices that Noah is behind the wheel, forced to drive by Jonas, who has a gun pointed at her. Nick jumps into action and starts chasing after them. Eventually, Noah pulls over, but Jonas threatens her with the gun, demanding she keep driving. At this point, Nick and Noah are practically mirroring each other. As both cars speed side by side, they slam on the brakes and duck down. Just then, the female cop riding with Nick takes a shot at Jonas. But tragically, she ends up losing her life. After that, we see Noah's mom come to visit her, overjoyed to be reunited with her daughter. In the final moments, Nick sneaks into Noah's room and ends up killing her. They embrace, both filled with joy, and whenever they're together, they can't help but lose themselves in each other. Meanwhile, Nick's parents are plotting to put an end to their relationship, and that's how the story wraps up. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're new here, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more awesome videos.